As he prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, did Jesus no longer want to die? Let's talk about it. Matthew chapter 26, verse 36. This is before Jesus was betrayed and crucified. Matthew 26:36 says, Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he told the disciples, Sit here while I go over there and pray. Taking along Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. He said to them, I am deeply grieved to the point of death. Remain here and stay awake with me. The New Living Translation version tells us, He said, My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. He went on a little farther and bowed with his face to the ground, praying, My Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. So when Jesus prayed, let this cup of suffering be taken away, does this mean he no longer wanted to die? So we must think about what it was that Jesus was doing, right? On the cross, Jesus was taking on all of the sin, right? And what separates us from God? What separates us from the Father? Sin. So it will be during this time that Jesus was dying on the cross, during this time that he was taking on all the sin of the world, he would be separated from the Father. Something that's never been done. There's always been the Holy Trinity for eternity. It's always been the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit since the beginning of time, even before time. In the book of Genesis, God said we will make them in our image. When Jesus is praying, he's praying to the Father. However, this is just his form of conversation. He's always been conversing with the Father and the Holy Spirit since time began. So prayer on earth is his way of conversing with the Father. He knows that during this time of taking on all sin, the Father's back will be turned to him because sin separates us from God. That's another reason he says, why have thou forsaken me? Which was also prophecy, though. So when he says, why hast thou forsaken me? This was fulfilling prophecy. In Leviticus and Deuteronomy, Exodus, really Leviticus, there's a procedure on how the animals had to be sacrificed or was not a worthy sacrifice. There was a strict procedure they had to follow for the sacrifice to be a good sacrifice, for the sacrifice to forgive the sin of the people. So there was a procedure that Jesus had to follow for his sacrifice to take the sins of the people. And part of that procedure was to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? It was a fulfillment of prophecy. So his flesh very well was weak. We can remember that the flesh, Jesus was a man on earth. He was God and a man. So his flesh was weak, but his spirit was willing. And he literally told them, Matthew chapter 26, verse 41. When he came back and the disciples were sleeping, he told them, keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation. For the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. The flesh is weak. So my answer to this question, yes, his flesh could have been weak and he was a man and maybe he didn't want to die. But my answer to this question is always that he did not want to be separated from the Father. He had never, ever been separated from his Father. When he was baptized, God came through and said, this is my son who I am proud of. On the transfiguration, God came and said, this is my son, obey him. He's never been separated from the Father. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was praying this prayer so that he did not have to be separated. Father, pass this cup from me, if you are willing, but your will be done. All right. So, hope I was able to answer that question for you. Peace.